In the yesteryears of centuries ago, in a small portion of this vast world of ours, there lived a people called the children of Israel. From them came certain men and women through whom God revealed himself to all mankind. One of these was Abraham, a man of faith. Abraham, man of faith, was born in the city of Ur in Chaldea 8 generations after the great flood. His father was Terah, a descendant of Shem, Noah's son. But unlike Noah, Terah worshipped idols instead of the true God. In the course of time, Abraham's people moved northward to Haran in Mesopotamia, where they lived for many years. Here Terah died, and here the voice of God came to Abraham with both a command and a promise.
Abraham, leave your country and your relatives and your father's home, and go to a land that I will show you, and I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and give you a great name, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and will curse anyone who curses you. And through you, all people on earth will be blessed.
Abraham was 75 years old. It would be a hardship for him to leave his home and venture forth into a new and strange land. But Abraham had such complete faith in God's promise that he was willing to go wherever God might lead him. There was much to be done. Food had to be packed, tents taken down, herds and flocks rounded up, servants instructed. For Abraham was a wealthy man. Only one thing he lacked. He and his wife Sarah had no children, and they both longed for a son. Abraham's nephew, Lot, was almost like a son to them, having lived with them since the death of his father. So Abraham offered to take Lot along on the journey.
You don't even know where this country is. How can you be sure we'll find pasture land there? Enough for all our herds.
Don't worry. The Almighty God provides for those who serve him faithfully. We must trust him and go where he tells us. Now, eat heartily, for soon we must be on our way.
It was a long journey, and a dangerous one, through wild desert country where there were many fierce warring tribes. But Abraham and his caravan passed through it safely, crossed the Jordan River, and came to Bethel. There, Abraham built an altar and gave thanks to God for having led them safely to this land of promise. God blessed Abraham in Canaan, and he became a very wealthy man. But trouble soon arose over pasture lands and water, for both Abraham and Lot had many herds, and their herdsmen began to quarrel among themselves. But when Abraham heard about the quarreling over the pasture lands, quarreling which threatened to harm his friendship with Lot, he was quick to offer a solution, one that showed Abraham to be a peacemaker and an unselfish man of God.
Let there be no quarreling between you and me, and between your herdsman and my herdsman, for you are my nephew. Doesn't the whole country lie before you? If you want to go to the left, then I will go to the right. And if you want to go to the right, then I will go to the left.
It was generous of Abraham to offer his nephew first choice of the land God had given to him. But Lot didn't stop to think about that. His only concern was which to choose. Then Lot saw how the whole Jordan Valley was well watered and green. What finer spot could there be in Canaan? So Lot chose for himself the whole Jordan Valley. Soon afterwards, the Lord spoke to Abraham, showing him that he had lost nothing by being generous.
Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are. Look in every direction as far as you can see. All the land which you can see I will give to you and to your descendants forever. I will give you many descendants, in number like the dust of the earth. Go and travel the length and breadth of the land, for I will give it to you.
So the years passed for Abraham and Sarah in the land of Canaan, peaceful years for the most part. And though the Lord had promised to give Abraham a descendant in whom all nations would be blessed, and had said that Abraham would be the father of many nations, yet he and Sarah continued to be childless. And Abraham began to wonder in his heart when God would fulfill his promise. Then God spoke to him again, reassuring him.
Look at the sky and count the stars, if you can. That is how many descendants you will have.
So again, Abraham had God's promise. Not only would he have his heart's desire, a son, but he would also have so many descendants that, like the stars, they could not be counted. Though the fulfillment of this promise seemed impossible, Abraham believed it, and by his faith he became righteous in God's sight. Later, Abraham's faith was strengthened even more when 3 strangers came to him one day. At first, Abraham did not recognize these men as heavenly visitors, but when he saw them, he ran to meet them and welcomed them.
If I have found favor with you, do not pass by. But let me send for a little water, then wash your feet, and rest under the tree, while I get some bread that you may refresh yourselves.
Do just as you said.
So while the visitors rested, Abraham hurried into the tent and asked Sarah to make some cakes of fine flour. And he also took a calf from his herd and had it prepared for his guests. And he brought them curds and milk. After they had eaten, one of Abraham's guests turned to him with a question.
Where is your wife, Sarah?
She's in the tent.
I promised to return in the spring, and by then Sarah, your wife, will have a son.
As he heard these words, Abraham realized that this promise was from God, and he was glad to hear again that he would soon have a son. Sarah, who was listening at the entrance of the tent, laughed to herself as she thought how impossible it would be for her to become a mother in her old age. But the stranger knew what she was thinking and rebuked her.
Why did Sarah laugh and think, how can I, an old woman, have a child? Is anything impossible for the Lord? Next spring when I return, Sarah will have a son.
I didn't laugh.
But you did.
And in the spring, as the Lord had promised, Sarah gave birth to a son, and Abraham named him Isaac. And he thanked God with all his heart. The years passed, and Isaac grew to be a God-fearing young lad, the delight of Sarah and Abraham, who loved him deeply. Abraham spent many hours with the boy, teaching him the skills of hunting and giving him love and attention. But God was to test Abraham's faith once again, in a way that would leave no doubt as to whom he loved the most.
Abraham, take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as an offering on one of the hills that I will point out to you.
Sacrifice his son Isaac? How could God ask such a thing? And yet had not God said, I will make a covenant with you? Had not the Lord always kept his promises? Was this the time to lose faith and refuse to obey the Lord? And so Abraham made his decision. The next morning, Abraham arose early to start out for the land of Moriah with his son Isaac and 2 servants.
God be with you and keep you safe.
Don't worry, Mother. We'll come back soon. It's only a 3-day journey. Isn't it, Father?
It is, Isaac. It is.
On the 3rd day, Abraham saw the place in the distance. Then Abraham said to his servants, stay here. The lad and I will go over there and worship, and we'll come back to you. In his heart, Abraham still had the hope that his son would somehow be spared, but he was determined to do what God had commanded. When they came to the place of which God had spoken, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it.
The altar is ready for the sacrifice, Father. But where is the lamb?
God wants you to be the lamb, my son.
Abraham,
Yes, Lord.
do not do anything to the boy. Now I know that you love God, for you did not refuse to give me your only son.
So Isaac's life was spared. And looking around, Abraham saw a ram behind him. And Abraham took the ram and sacrificed him as an offering to the Lord instead of his son. Again the Lord spoke to Abraham and said,
Because you did not refuse to give me your only son, I will bless you richly and will give you many descendants, as many as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. And in your descendants, all the people on earth will be blessed.
In this way, God again promised the coming of the Messiah to a man who had passed many great tests of faith.